All right guys, we're here with the Hyundai Santa Fe Elite. So if you've already watched some of our videos, you've seen the base model Hyundai Santa Fe, and then you've seen the Calligraphy 6-seater. Now we're bringing you the 7-seat all-wheel drive hybrid in the Elite. So it's the middle spec one, and quite honestly, I'm quite excited to bring this to you because I think this will be one of the more suitable models for a lot more people that maybe want a little bit more luxury and premium features than the base model, but don't necessarily need all of the glitz and glam of the Calligraphy top spec, particularly the panoramic roof. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's show you through this car before the heavens open up and start raining on us again here in Sydney. As you can see, I'm very much super rugged up and completely different to filming a review in Brisbane. So yeah, I'm sure I won't freeze before the end of this one. So let's have a look. Now, on the outside, you'll have the 20-inch alloy wheels. They carry across from the Elite, so you still get that. We'll show you through the drive side of things a little bit later in this review. But having driven some of the other models of the Santa Fe's so far, the 20-inch wheels are actually a surprisingly comfortable drive. They're very, very cushy on the city roads as well as the motorways, which was something I didn't really expect because I thought with 20-inch wheels you might compromise some of that ride, but they've done a really good job with the suspension tuning and the wheels themselves here in Australia to make sure that you're getting a very localized and comfortable suspension tune and setup for our roads here in Australia, both here in Sydney and in Brisbane where I've driven the other two models. Front parking sensors are standard, and with the Elite you're going to have a very polarizing front end in terms of it's mean, it's tough, it looks almost like a little tank on wheels, and I think it's great. It just makes the brand stand out a bit more. It's a bit tougher and very big departure from the styling of the previous Santa Fe. In fact, this car is also bigger, wider and taller than the old Santa Fe, meaning it's got a really good surprise in the third row for the rear passenger occupants. So I'll show you that in a second as well. You have the H design on the front here. That carries across in a number of other areas. So keep an eye on that as we move throughout the car to see where else you can find that H pattern. The first spot as well is the daytime running lights. So that H of the daytime running lights also illuminates when it's nighttime for your normal LED lights. The actual LED headlight unit, however, is in between those two slots there. So you have that on both of the fronts here, which gives it just a nice presence on the road, and it definitely stands out. We've been parking these around different city spots here in Sydney today while filming, and it's definitely caught the eye of a lot of people. So that's another really big plus. Now, what's different with this is it's powered by a 1.6 litre hybrid petrol engine. The petrol engine is turbocharged, and look, quite frankly, it's pretty good power around town. It is a little bit noisier as it moves between the EV/hybrid mode into the petrol only mode. And you're going to get that with any hybrid. However, it does do it a little bit less refined than some of the long players in the space, including the Toyota RAV4 hybrid. However, it's not overly noticeable. It's just obviously something that I'm picking up because I've got the radio off and all other sounds off to try to see how loud the car is when there's no noise. If you're a mum or dad and you're driving around town with this car, you'll probably have your radio or some songs playing, particularly the kids' tunes, and on top of that you'll have them asking questions or screaming, so you'll have a number of different interruptions there as well. So you're probably not going to notice any of that on your day-to-day drives. Now, moving across to the side, let's have a look at what else you get. So you got the black cladding that is unpainted and unfinished, which is the same as the standard model Santa Fe. The calligraphy grades will get the gloss black, and I like the fact that they haven't made this a gloss black finish on the Elite. You do have a little bit of gloss black here on the Santa Fe side badging, but outside of that, it's very limited gloss black on the outside of the car, which is really good. Roof rails at the top that are practical and are able to be quickly set up for roof racks to carry any oversized items. And the door handles, well, they're pretty big and tough, just like the rest of the car. So super easy to grab and use, and the doors feel really heavy and really solid, which is something that I've been noticing as a trend on a lot of the newer Hyundai product, showing the direction of the company progressing into a more premium space than what many of our viewers potentially actually consider them to be. So that's another good thing there. And a little bit of a small highlight and trim piece just here, giving it a little bit of break up in the solid color space on the rest of the car. As you can see, we're at a public place, so excuse us when you have certain interruptions. Hopefully we won't have too many. Moving to the rear doors, you have very large and wide opening rear doors. However, they drop down quite low, meaning it's super easy for little ones to jump in and out of that back really, really easily, rather than having to constantly be assisted getting in and out. But the other great thing is the actual height to get in. If you are someone that suffers from mobility issues, it can be a little bit of an easy in and out as well. So that's a really good feature. We'll cover more of the inside in a second. And as we move to the rear of the car, this is where you either love it or you hate it. There is no in between with the back of the Santa Fe in any of the grades, and definitely doesn't change in the Elite. Now, rear parking sensors are standard, as well as a rear camera, which makes parking an absolute breeze. And you do have a 360-degree camera system on this car as well, which makes parking in areas and any conditions and situations really, really simple, particularly in tight spaces like underground car parks or shopping centers. Hybrid badge to show that it's a hybrid, and this grade does get an automatic tailgate to go up and down as well, and you can program the opening height and closing height. As you can see, I've got other stuff in the back there, so there's plenty of versatility in what you can actually load to get in and out of this car. Now, let's have a look at what you get in the driver's seat. Now, moving to the inside of the car, you have some really nice highlights on the Elite model. So soft touch materials at the top and where your arm would be. The lower plastic trims are plastic and they're a bit more harder wearing, but they don't feel quite as cheap as some other vehicles, both in the Hyundai range and outside of Hyundai. So a really nice job there. You do get the Bose premium sound system as part of your step up into the Elite model. And you also get this nice trim on the dash here. So on the door here. So you go from this kind of brushed silver type finish through to this almost like wood grainy type texture finish that's through here. So actually makes it feel really, really premium, and I quite like that, because it means that you're stepping up into a level 2 car, which usually is either a nice car but still feels cheap, or is kind of just a really poorly done, overly expensive looking but cheap feeling mid-spec car. And Hyundai has hit the nail on the head with this particular one, because the interior definitely feels every bit premium for a level 2 model, and I reckon you would not need to step up to a Calligraphy model if you don't want some of the features that are in that car. So let's see what else you get. Also, while I've got the bottle in my hand, handy little bottle holder just there, as well as a number of other storage areas as well throughout the car. Now, moving into the car, you can't see it right now because it's daytime, but you have these faint little illumination strips just here that give it some nice ambient lighting. Another one that crosses across here that goes the whole width of the actual dash. And that carries on with that H pattern that you see on the front that I pointed out at the start of the video, and that you also see on the stitching of the seats as well. Digital displays, you have two massive digital displays that are 12.3 inch. One is touchscreen and one just offers all your driver information. Electronic park brake just here, your boot release, and this gear selector is now down here instead of being touch buttons in the center or a shifter. Now, I'm not a fan of this stalk type shifter. I think it gets in the way depending on how tall you are or how long your legs are or how you like to sit. For me, I would have preferred Hyundai to have just put some buttons in the center like they have in previous models. So that's one thing where I think it lets the car down, but overall, once you get used to it, it's something you don't even think of. So I wouldn't let it stop you from buying the car or even considering it. Steering wheel is leather wrapped and is very, very comfortable. The steering height and reach is also adjustable, meaning you'll be able to find the perfect position for yourself as a driver in the car. And your indicators are on the right-hand side with auto on and off headlights. And you have your rain sensing wipers on the left-hand side, which have auto on and off functionality as well. This little nodule that sits just here, this is for your driver attention warning. Now, this keeps an eye on your eyes. So if your eyes aren't looking at the road and they're looking down, and what they call driver attention or driver distractedness, then it will give you a series of beeps to let you know that you should get your eyes back on the road. This is where I don't like some of the newer technology that's coming into a lot of cars, and with Hyundai, they've done a good job with it, but there's sometimes where I'm looking at the left screen, looking at the navigation, for example, or I'm checking my blind spots and the driver attention warning will tell me that I need to put my eyes back on the road. And it's not elongated periods of time. Sometimes it's just simply looking straight and then straight down or straight in front at this current speed or at any other information, and you get some of that warning. So maybe some tweaks that need to be adjusted or done there. I didn't notice it as much in Brisbane. It may just potentially also be that I'm looking at the GPS a little bit more here in Sydney compared to how I would in Brisbane as well. So bear that in mind, make sure you take it for a drive and test it for yourself when it comes to that. Now, moving on to the seats themselves, they are leather appointed seats with electronic adjustments on the driver's side, including your lumbar support as well. So you'll get a very comfortable and cushy position for you to be as your driver, to make sure that this car is incredibly comfortable for you for your everyday drives. Now, let's check out what you get in the middle. Now, moving on to the inside, you get that very comfortable leather appointed interior for the passenger seat as well. So your passenger princess or prince can be incredibly comfortable on those drives. You have perforated seating here, which is also heated for the front two seats. There's no ventilation on this model. You have to go to the Calligraphy to get the ventilated seating, which is very handy in summer. So if you live in a hot part of Australia, maybe you might want to. You get the H emblems all running through the whole stitching. And outside of that, you get this big center console, which is actually really well built. There's no real creaks or noises. You get dual wireless charging pads. In the base model, you just get the one. And you also have your USB-C charging outlets directly there, including one that acts as media streaming so that you can connect your Apple CarPlay and your Android Auto. Now, Apple CarPlay does have the option of being wireless as well. I personally, because we're reviewing multiple cars all the time, I normally just keep it as a wired connection. But this one does do wireless connection for your Apple CarPlay. Now, in this center area here, just above where your normal glove box is, you do have a nice little rubber-lined storage area. Could be super handy if you're storing phones or any other kind of devices or just anything in there. You can hide them away. In the Calligraphy model, you will get a USB-C sanitization setup in there, which is handy for parents with bottles, pacifiers, or anything else that you need to sanitize. However, this model doesn't get that. And you get a glove box that is quite reasonable in terms of space. A little bit of parcel shelf above here for whatever else you need to put on there. And again, it closes quite neatly and really nicely. Now, that kind of almost wood grain type highlight on the doors, that carries across onto the dash the whole way across, which just gives it a real premium feel. I really feel that the Elite model is actually probably the best value for money out of the three. But tell me in the comments what you think, and would you buy the Elite or would you just go for the Calligraphy model? The screen, as I mentioned, is super clear and very responsive, and also is coupled with your camera system. So you're going to have your cameras the whole way around the car, ready to get you in and out of any tight parking spaces. You don't have a digital mirror, it's just a standard mirror, and you don't have a panoramic roof, it's just a standard roof. So if you don't want to have a glass roof, you can have a traditional roof, and that is in this model, which is the Elite. Let's have a look at the back and see what else you get in there. Now, moving into the back seat, you're going to have a couple of things that are very parent-friendly in the Elite model and in the Calligraphy. One of those is this courtesy blind that pulls up. It just clicks into here, and it's actually quite well designed. So I remember when my siblings were quite little, you know, you used to have the blanket that was flapping on the outside of the window and annoying the hell out of you as you drove because the rest of the blanket is kind of hitting up against the roof of the car. No more. You can just literally pull up this little blind, or if you just want a little bit of additional privacy, you can have that there and then drop that down. Soft touch materials at the top here and on the middle section continue. However, the plastic is back and in full force from this point down compared to in the front. You get a little bit more premium material for a little bit longer. That being said, you do have the nice wood grain looking inserts just on the side here, which give it a nice premium feel. And also this bi-directional glove box. So it just means that you can open it from both directions, whether you're in the front seat or the back seat. So if you're a parent or child and you have some snacks or just charging equipment, you can have those in there. You also have this storage tray that pulls out and you can access any snacks, any devices, any phones. Once again, you have USB-C charging points on the two back seats, on the two front seats at the back of the seat. And you also have these shopping bag hooks that are neatly designed just here in case you don't want some stuff rolling around in the back, going everywhere. You have these little compartments as well that pull back, and that allows you to have tablets or any other devices charging. Plus, on the doors, you also get two very deep and generous cup holders and your power window controls, plus a bottle holder as well at the bottom of it, which makes it very, very convenient if you're wanting to go on a road trip and you've got drinks, bottles for your kids, whatever. You can have them all stored all through there. Now, parents, you're going to love this feature because with the Sante Fe, the new one gets ISOFIX points at the bottom of the two outer seats in the middle. You get 3 tether points across the whole back. And once this seat is down, the tether points are revealed directly behind the actual seat. So you're not losing a huge amount of space should you want to get into the back and also have some more seats, or you just want to use your full boot space. You're going to have some shopping bag hooks directly behind these back seats. So if you want to pop whatever you need to down there, you definitely can, and it's going to be nice and easy. And there's one other secret. So let's fold this back out and let's have a look at what you get in the third row. Now, moving into the back of the car, this is where it gets really easy to be a parent or a child. You just push the top button, that slides that front seat, and then you get in the back. So let's see how much space is in the third row. Now, the third row of the Sante Fe is a big improvement on the previous Sante Fe. However, with the seat the whole way back, angled the whole way back, it's not going to be the most comfortable space as an adult. However, you can see that there's going to be plenty of space if you were a child. If you move the seat slightly forward, you would actually have, if you needed to have someone really tall in the front that had to have the seat the whole way back, you could actually have your legs behind that and still be relatively comfortable. You get your own air conditioning in the back, plus you also get your air vents directly here and your USB-C outlets on both sides, plus some deep cup holders or bottle holders as well, meaning you can make this back space your own on that long road trip and still be relatively comfortable. Plus, your feet are actually well catered for underneath the back seat, so you have plenty of space as well. But the reason I've left this one open, I want to show you how much space is in the back when you actually have a little bit of adjustment. So bear with us while we adjust the front seat and get it back into a position. So push this forward and now engage it back. So now that that seat is the whole way back there, you could actually have what is a pretty decent rear space just here. As an adult, you would be comfortable on a longer trip being here because you'd have enough leg room behind you. And because they've raised the floor compared to the previous Sante Fe, you're no longer sitting down and having your legs kind of up around your ears. They do have a bit more of a relaxed feeling in the position of how you're sitting now compared to how they previously were designed, which is another big plus and win. The other thing to note as well, there's 2 little map lights on the back seats as well as in the middle and at the front. Usually you only get these at the front doors and the back doors, so it adds another little bit of a premium vibe to the back of this Sante Fe. And if you're on a road trip and you wanted to read a book or something like that, you can just pop those and experience your own little private sanctuary in the back. Now with that back seat, so moving that forward, if we move this back a little bit to another position, that's a bit further back and still gives you a pretty decent amount of space just here. So you're definitely going to be comfortable and you're not going to sacrifice your leg space in the front either. So let me show you what I mean by that by jumping in the front. So as you can see, with that most comfortable position in the back, this is how far forward the seat is compared to this mid-spec or mid-range back area, your knees aren't touching the back of the seat, and even in the middle where they start brushing it a little bit, it's kind of expected because this seat is now the whole way back. It's actually further back than my driving position because it's in just the furthest position back that I could put it. So it's not an uncomfortable place to be if you're a child or maybe a school friend, and you can put your feet underneath the back of the seat to actually get a little bit of additional legroom as well. So it's actually not too bad. But then with the adjustments, you can kind of find the Goldilocks version of where you want to sit, where it's just going to be just right for you and just right for the person in the back. So I think Hyundai has done a really good job at actually designing this as a 7-seat SUV that is actually quite practical to use as a 7-seater for adults, not just for children, so, or just on paper. So I think that's a great thing there that Hyundai has done. But let's check out the boot space. Now, with those back seats up the whole way back in recline, it's a little bit snug in the back. So you might get a pram in here, you probably won't get a stroller, and you might get some groceries, and that's kind of just about it. However, you can always angle this to a number of different positions, which will give you just that little bit of additional space. So with those angled, all of a sudden, you can lay some things down and actually stack things on top, which makes it really handy as well. The other cool thing that I thought about this car is that it has the child tether points directly behind the 6 and 7 seats, meaning that you actually have 5 top child tether points, and these 2 seats also have ISOFIX points at the base. So you're having 4 ISOFIX points plus 5 child tether points directly behind the seats. So if you're a busy mum or dad that has a lot of kids, or that you're constantly babysitting for everyone else, you're definitely going to be able to fit all of that in there. And when it comes to putting this down and putting it up, it's a simple one-handed operation, making it super easy for you if you've got your hands full with groceries or another child. And if you need to pull it up, same thing again. It's just a one-arm motion to get it up or to get it down. So it makes it super simple as a parent to be able to do what you need to do. There's a 12-volt outlet directly behind here as well. So if you do have these seats down and you want to carry a fridge, maybe on a camping trip or an outing, you can. Or if you just want to use it to charge devices, drones, or maybe tablets, you also can. So that's another nice feature. Plus, one of the other things that I do like about the Santa Fe in the design for the new one is you can also press this here, and that will drop down the middle row on the relevant seat. So if you want a bit of additional space to get something long and oversized in there, you can also do that at the press of a button. So really well designed for people to use it practically and to use it as parents, or just if you're carrying a lot of stuff in here. And I think that's the great thing about the new Santa Fe. Let me know in the comments what you think about the car and whether you would consider owning a Santa Fe. Now, let's go for a drive and wrap this up. All right, so one of the things I really like about the Santa Fe is the overall drive. Although it's quite a big car, it doesn't feel like a big car at all to drive. The glass and the design of the overall shape of everything as well means that the windows are really big and make it very easy to look outside, which makes it really nice. Now we're going to try to merge out here onto quite a busy Sydney street, and then we'll continue talking. All right, so one of the things that you'll notice with the hybrid setup is it gets up and goes. The way that Hyundai's designed the system, it definitely aids that low-end torque to get the car moving, get it rolling. And after all, that's where you're going to use the most amount of fuel. Now, the one thing that is a little bit annoying with a lot of these new cars, and the new Hyundai is no exception, is the speed alert. So if you go right onto 60 and you get to 61, it starts beeping it at you a couple of times to let you know that you've gone past the speed. As you can tell right now, it's picking up that I'm not looking at the road and I'm looking at you. So it's starting to give me some beeping around the driver assistance features as well, saying, hey, your eyes aren't on the road. So there are just a couple of considerations to make when you take the car. Some of these can be turned off. You just have to turn them off each and every drive. From what I've heard is Hyundai is working towards having a option where you can turn them off and have them off for good. However, I'm not 100% sure as to the ETA or to the extent of what will be able to be turned off for good and what will need to continue to be left on. Road comfort, it's pretty decent. Like I said, 20-inch wheels generally are a bit of a harsher ride. However, Hyundai has hit the nail on the head with the suspension setup and tune, making it quite comfortable on Sydney roads, which generally aren't that great. And in Brisbane, they were pretty comfortable as well. If you need a little bit of extra get up and go, the car definitely gets up and goes with ease. And on the highway, you don't get all that much road noise coming into the car, which again makes it very, very comfortable when you're trying to have that nice long road trip in a car of this size and this capacity. Now, fuel consumption. It's sitting somewhere between 6.5 and 7 per 100 around busy Sydney city streets. However, in Brisbane, we experienced about half a litre off that on the car. Now, we have a range remaining of about 880 kilometres. We have driven the car for about 30 kilometres, 35 kilometres. So in terms of the car itself, we've already had a little bit of usage. So it wouldn't be unrealistic to expect around 900 kilometers worth of driving from a single tank of this size. The best thing is we're going to be putting that to the test in a couple of weeks. So make sure you tune back in for our next review, where we do a long distance driving review and we review fuel consumption on a long road trip that is 950 kilometers to see just how close we can get to max fuel consumption on the car, or best fuel consumption, sorry, and max range on the Santa Fe. Now, as you can see, the section where we're on right now is quite rough, quite bumpy, and with the tires at their recommended inflation and also being 20-inch wheels, it's actually not too bad. It's pretty decent and pretty comfortable. The seat is incredibly comfortable. I've done about 500 kilometers now in the Santa Fe range across multiple cars throughout the different reviews that I've done, and they've been really, really nice to drive and very, very comfortable. So I think if you use this car as a rep car, or maybe you're in the car all the time and you're doing some drives, you're definitely going to be able to work that out and be comfortable if you suffer from lower back pain. And having the heated seats adds that little bit of an extra nicety as well for any lower back pain that you might be experiencing. So that's also a big plus. In terms of visibility, I quite like the fact that the blind spot monitors come up on the round dials or discs inside the digital display, meaning that you get some really clear visibility as you're driving around town. And that just gives you a sense of a bit more stability when you're trying to merge or change lanes in very busy city streets. You're going to be able to see whatever's on that little blind spot to make sure that you're not going to hit another car, and it's right where you're going to be looking. So again, a really nice design, plus still having the blind spot indicator itself on the actual mirror. Acceleration as well. So it's pretty punchy, and the reason it's punchy is it turns the actual turbocharged engine on, as well as the electric motors to get you up and going. And the minute you don't need that additional power, it switches straight back over to just being hybrid. So you end up with this kind of nice mix between the two all the time, where you're kind of floating between being on petrol or being electric, and it just gives you a real quiet, comfortable drive for 99% of your driving. It gets a little bit noisier when the engine kicks in, and that's generally just to accelerate off the mark or if you have aggressive acceleration. Now, some people have commented around a lack of power compared to the diesel drivetrain, and that's always going to be true. The diesel in the previous Santa Fe was a real punchy engine and was really, really comfortable. Now, the hybrid system here in the Santa Fe is no different to most other hybrid systems, and I wouldn't hesitate putting your family in here or going for a long drive with a bit of cargo and baggage. You're still going to find it more than fine when driving around to have that extra power with the hybrid system. So make sure you ask your dealer to give you a reasonable length test drive. You don't want to be in a test drive where you're going to go around the block and you're trying to work out if there's enough power, and then you come away from it saying, oh, there's not enough power. Definitely go for a longer test drive. Make sure you have it in the right drive mode as well. So the car comes with a number of different drive modes, everything from sport to standard eco, and then some additional modes. And they greatly change how you actually get the responsiveness in the throttle input, as well as just the sense of either a lack of power or sufficient power. So that's pretty good there as well. And I think that's what really, I guess I like to emphasize is, don't just take my opinion of whether it does or doesn't have enough power. Like, go and take a car for a drive and, put it through its paces, ask for a longer test drive. Right now, it's a buyer's market. So if you want to go for a longer drive in the car, find a dealer that will give you a car for a bit longer. Go for half an hour, go for an hour. Like, most dealers are pretty accommodating nowadays, and the ones that aren't, they're probably not the ones that you want to be dealing with anyway. So that's my advice when it comes to buying a new car, particularly when you're trying to work out whether it has sufficient power or not enough power. And don't be afraid to load your family up. If you've got 7 people that are always in the car with you, or 6 because it's a 7-seater and you're one of the 7, get everyone in the car. Go for a drive as part of the test drive. There's no shame in that, and you're better off knowing that the car's for you than it not being for you. But overall, I think 99% of people that take this car for a drive, they're going to find the power sufficient and very, very comfortable. One other thing to note as well, the Australian models get a 6-speed transmission for the automatic. They don't get the 8-speed DCT that the US models get. So there is a little bit more reliability on that transmission for the local market. And it also makes it one of the few hybrid vehicles out there that doesn't actually use a CVT, which makes it, again, a much more comfortable drive and a much more controlled drive when it comes to the droning, revving noise that is quite common with quite a lot of CVT hybrid vehicles. So again, another big tick for Hyundai with this. And you get a 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty as well. So another big plus. Now, when it comes to reversing, the Sante Fe Elite is an absolute breeze, like a lot of the other Sante Fe models. So the 360-degree camera system gives you super clear and crisp information to line up your car pretty accurately. So whether you're trying to park at a park or you're trying to park in your garage, you're going to be able to find an easy way to do that. Now, one of the party tricks that this car has that the other models have in the Calligraphy, but the base model doesn't have, is the smart parking. So let's show you how the smart parking works. So the car comes with a smart park feature, and I think it's one of the most convenient features if you're a parent that maybe is a bit scared that the kids are going to open up a door on someone else's car and you got a little bit of space around you in a not so busy car park that you can slot it out, or someone's parked a little bit too close to you. So all you need to do is push the lock button, push and hold the on button. That will turn the car on, and you can tell that the car's actually turned on because the shutters are opening up. And then all you need to do is push and hold the forward key button, and that will now move the car without you needing to have someone in the car. It will move at a very small controlled pace just to make sure that it's not going to hit anyone and to give you easy opportunity to get in and out as you need. And then all you need to do is push and hold the reverse button here, and that will get that car back into the slot, or alternatively it will slot it back to where it needs to go. So you're just pushing and holding it, and that makes it super simple for everyday parking around town. There you have it. So that's my impressions of the Hyundai Sante Fe Elite. We've now done the entry-level model, we've done the Calligraphy 6-seater, and this is the Elite hybrid that we've done. I reckon the Elite is the best bang for buck out of the 3 specs, but let me know in the comments what you think. I highly recommend you take one for a drive and you get in for yourself and experience the car. And stay tuned in the coming weeks where we will take a Hyundai Sante Fe hybrid on an epic 1,000 kilometer journey to make sure that the fuel consumption is actually pretty good on those longer drives, or to see whether it's not so good and the claims that they're making may not actually be all that great. So stay tuned for that one. We'll show you a fair balance between city and highway driving, but predominantly highway driving for that 1,000K test between Sydney and Brisbane. So stay tuned, ask any questions in the comment section. And until next time, guys, thank you for supporting the channel and for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. That definitely helps in order to get more and more access to more and more cars.